Good? We're ready to roll? Okay, cool. So, what's your name?
Lucy.
Lucy?
Yeah, hi.
Lucy, hi Lucy.
Hi.
What makes a guy creepy?
A lot of things.
From talking to a lot of women and understanding the dynamics of what a woman is looking for in a man, I've been able to sum up 3 different types of guys that women are creeped out by. Now, what is the definition of a creepy guy? A creepy guy is a guy who is not socially calibrated and a guy that a woman can't trust. This is what happens when a woman is feeling that sense of, I think this guy is kind of creepy, right? He's a little bit weird. He's, like I said, socially uncalibrated, so he's not very good in social settings. Maybe he's a little off-putting, and I'll be giving you examples of what this looks like in terms of the 3 different types of guys. But this all happens, and then a woman can't trust him, right? The second that she feels that this guy is creepy, she can't trust and then is no longer attracted. If a woman can't feel safe or understand who the guy is that she's with and understand more of his intentions, then she's not going to be turned on or attracted. So let's go into the 3 different types of guys. Guy number 1 is the psychopath, the narcissist, the guy who has no empathy. He lacks the ability to understand what a woman is feeling, and women can actually catch on to this. They can see when and feel when a guy is lacking that empathy, and this comes out in their conversation. He's almost robotic. He has no emotion. His face is very stoic. He's not very responsive to what she's saying, meaning, she might be saying something and he can't empathize, he can't relate to her. He's not smiling, right? So these are characteristics of a guy who is creepy because he is not showing any sort of human emotion, and this can happen even if a guy is not a narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath. Of course, a guy who is very shy could come off so timid that he ends up completely choked up in his voice, and he's not really responsive, and he's got this fear in his eyes. So this can actually be creepy to women.
Long stares. Like, if you're my boyfriend, sure, but you're not, so please don't. Just don't do that. Don't.
If anything, you're going to stare, just go up and say hi instead of just sitting there.
Like, don't be just sitting there and being like, oh, like, hi. Like, the longest stare. Like, it's awkward, and you'll catch people doing it, and it's like, oh, God. So, yeah.
The next guy that women are completely creeped out by is the overtly sexual guy. This is a guy who doesn't understand his boundaries when he's talking to a girl. Maybe he's not giving her enough personal space, he's touching her too much, he's complimenting her too much, especially right away. And this happens, and a girl's creeped out by this guy, when a guy is coming on strong very fast. This is when it's very creepy. Of course, the things he's doing are completely normal if the girl knew him for a long time, but catcalling her, saying weird things to her when he just meets her, like I said, touching her too much, talking about anything sexual within the first couple of minutes of meeting her is going to completely creep her out.
Just like approaching at an unapproachable time, maybe, just kind of like inserting himself into like my personal space and just being like super forward rather than like being polite. I feel like guys are just too forward rather than like taking into consideration like, whoa, I'm just like getting in her space, and like that's kind of creepy.
Now, if you're socially calibrated enough, maybe you can get away with, being more physical with a woman fast or talking sexual to a girl fast. But the problem is a guy who's not socially calibrated is not being able to tell what the girl is feeling and thinking. So if you're talking to a girl and you have no idea how she's feeling in an interaction, which is what this creepy guy does, then it can be a big problem. A guy might go too sexual, too fast, and sees that she's uncomfortable, but doesn't care or doesn't take notice and still continues to be too sexual with her. This is a problem. You'll be labeled as creepy. Now, the next guy that women are creeped out by is sort of a similar dude, but instead of being overtly sexual, he's overtly emotional. This is the obsessive guy. This is a guy who shows up to her place unannounced, text messages her all the time, says that he really likes her, maybe even says, I love you, when they just barely met.
When they like you too much.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Too many texts, too many phone calls. Ooh, when they don't have friends and they just always. Is that creepy? That's probably. Yeah, it's probably a little creepy.
What is creepy?
I think it's creepy when they don't have any friends. I think that's a red flag.
Why do you think this is a red flag?
Because that means that there's something wrong with them. They can't socialize with other people.
So if no one likes them, why should you like them?
Exactly.
On social media, maybe he's commenting on every photo, he's liking every photo. This shows up a lot in social media where a guy will basically stalk a girl and they don't even know each other. And girls are completely scared and creeped out by this.
Like Tinder matches often will just keep it up. Even if you don't answer, you have to block them usually. Yeah, that's happened to me like 3 times in the past week.
So don't do this. And don't think that if you're a guy who's consistently commenting or liking or doing anything on social media, on her profile, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, that she's gonna pay attention to you and then like you. No, this is creepy, this is obsessive, it's very weird, and it will turn a girl off very fast. So you have the unemotional sociopath guy, you have the guy who is overtly sexual, and you have the guy who's completely obsessive. Try to stay away from entering into any of these zones so you don't turn her off. And I think one of the biggest things that you can understand in terms of avoiding this is really understanding what the woman is feeling and thinking. And one of the best ways to do that is to consistently go out and talk to women so you can get an idea of how they're feeling in an interaction. You are a human, you have empathy, you have eyes, you can hear, so you can understand what a woman is feeling and thinking when you're with her. It's that gut feeling. Okay, it's gonna be telling you that, but you're only gonna be able to get better at that when you go out and talk to more girls. So make sure you do that.